Hey guys, Pretzel9945 here. Welcome back to another video. I realize that it's been a while, but my mic problems are finally solved, which probably means that I'll feel motivated to record more. So, today we are doing an updated version of one of my first videos, top 10 least favorite or worst movies of all time. None of the picks on here have necessarily changed, just I'm going to be redoing a lot of my older videos to make them updated. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, at number 10 is Peter Pan 2. So, I think the original Peter Pan is a decent movie and whatnot, but this movie, this movie is really bad. Like, it has an incredibly shoehorned plot that doesn't feel deserved and isn't nearly as the idea of the first one is either off to Neverland, defeat Captain Hook, but then it's like her sassy daughter gets taken away. I forget even what the character's name is. But the crowd that Peter Pan hangs with, all those little kids, those are so much more annoying this time around. And Peter Pan himself is a lot more of a douchebag in this movie, I feel like. And everything that made it the alligator, crocodile, one of the two, that made that thing so threatening and hilarious with Captain Hook is just replaced by this less funny octopus that doesn't provide nearly as much comedic value. And overall, this sequel is just a complete letdown in almost every level. Literally, in almost every aspect, this sequel is just the letdown every way, and that's why it makes this list. At number 9, we have Back to the Future. This is my very controversial pick. However, when I watched this, I didn't really like the time travel story in it. And which is a shame because I really wanted to like this movie. However, I hated the time plot. I didn't like it at all. The idea that I watched this when I was 10 or 11, I think, and the idea at that time that the younger version of his mom falls in love with the past version of himself, that's just, for me, it's super creepy and I just never felt like the plot really went anywhere. And maybe that's because I didn't see the second or third movies. I have no idea if they're all connected or not. But I feel like the plot wasn't really there. The characters were weird. The time travel ideas didn't make a whole lot of sense. And it's just, I never liked this one very much, even though I really wanted to. So the next one is quite possibly, besides one other on this list, the absolute worst Disney animated movie ever made. And that is Brother Bear. Now Brother Bear I've disliked heavily since I was a little kid. Because it, for one thing, the plot is so forgettable that I barely remember anything about it. Second, it is just incredibly stupid. Nothing in this movie makes any sense. And again, I'm really struggling to remember here because the plot is so forgettable. all the animals are incredibly dumb and have, like, no place in the story whatsoever. Like, ugh. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I probably will do a final reckoning episode on this movie, because I don't remember very much about it, so. At number 7, oh boy, is The Wizard of Oz. So there are some things I will credit. I think it's cool that this was the first color movie. That's impressive. And the music is kind of decent. Like, otherwise, it's just not very good. I've disliked this movie since I was, like, 5. And just basically what happens in this, like, movie, like, I think the plot is, like, really dumb. Like, I think the character of Dorothy is incredibly stupid and not that captivating. Like there are certain movies that do the character type of naive, but, like, I don't know, anyone say, like, inspired correctly. Like, for example, the Lego movie does that perfectly with Emmett. But, like, this movie does not play on that character archetype very well at all. In fact, it completely fails at it and just makes Dorothy seem incredibly stupid, more than like naive and, like, inspired to do something. And then every single one of the side characters, that, like, their gimmick is funny in their one song, but then gets really, really old. Especially the Cowardly Lion. And then when they get to the freaking, like, Wizard of Oz, then Oz is just a freaking douchebag who, like, doesn't want to help them at all. But then, like, oh, magically plot resolves, and, like, you know, they just go home and it's all a dream, and the plot is so ridiculous and the side characters are stupid, and I really don't like this movie. At number 6 is Jumanji. Now, so the idea behind this movie is that it's a kind of interesting idea. It's like this board game that, like, you know, takes it into real life, you know. However, the execution of that is where it completely goes awry. Like, it just is complete and utter pandemonium from start to finish. There is so much crap in this movie that it's impossible to tell what the heck is going on. Like, you could be going from the kids being hunted by a bounty hunter to being stampeded by elephants in the next minute. This movie is just completely all over the place and takes a semi-interesting, like, could be interesting premise and just completely ruins it by having this completely nonsensical plot that doesn't make any freaking sense. And it's literally so hard to follow because there's different stuff happening on screen that it's so much stuff happening on screen from minute to minute, and it's so much different stuff that I don't know what's going on, and also so much crap that I have no idea what is even happening, and my eyes are hurting. That's basically how you describe this movie for me. And number 5 is It's a Wonderful Life. This is probably the most boring movie I have ever seen in my life, and I tell you, I certainly did not have a wonderful life watching this movie. But anyway, so the general, what I usually say about this movie is the plot progression is, you know, like that. You know, looking at the exposition, rising action climax, falling action, and then the resolution. Typical, right? This movie is the long line. That was like 2.5 hours of exposition. This movie is over 3 hours long, and it uses like 2 hours and 45 minutes of it, like 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes of it, literally just to drop freaking exposition. Everything else happens in like the last 30 minutes. Literally, the plot goes nowhere for like 75% of this movie. It's a literal snooze fest, and then you get to the ending, and the ending is not at all interesting. Like, not even counting the fact that it has to rush everything in the end, the rising and climax and falling action and resolution. It just has none of that, because it has so much freaking exposition, it causes the plot to go literally nowhere. Literally nowhere. And all of the main characters are incredibly dumb and not captivating whatsoever, and you don't feel like there's any lesson learned after the entirety of the movie, which just makes it feel like an entire waste of time, which it was, and I very much regret having to watch this movie because it was so boring. So, at number 4, and what I consider to be the worst Disney animated movie, besides Brother Bear is very close to number 2. Number 4, we have Frozen. I've hated this movie ever since it came out. And for several reasons. Number 1, the idea of how fast, I don't even remember their names, the Anna and the Prince dude fall in love is stupid. It is so completely unrealistic. Like, it is one of the most unrealistic things I've seen in any movie. No one falls in love with that fast. I don't care if it's some sort of storybook romance. No one falls in love that fast. It's completely stupid. And this, is Prince Hans. That was his name. Yeah, Prince Hans. Yeah, he's a douchebag character. He's probably the worst twist villain I've ever seen in a movie. Ever. Like, the worst. He sucks. He's so bad. Like, when, literally, I remember when I watched this movie, like, and it was the twist, and I was like, what? How is this deserved? Like, the idea that he's the twist villain is in no way deserved at all. And to be completely honest, one of the things that I think is kind of positive about the movie, the sisterly relationship, I still think that could have been done better. Personally, like, it's not bad. In fact, it's one of the few not bad things about this movie, but it could have been done better. Honestly, the best part about this movie that I can say is that Olaf makes for some very, very good comic relief. Like, that's a decent standard for comic relief. Josh Gad does a good job in that role. But otherwise, everything else is such crap. Sven is literally a character. Sven is literally the most nothing character in the whole movie. Like, he literally just exists to move the plot along. And, yeah, sure, I chuckled at a few moments, such as the pigs in a blowout thing. I think that's very funny. But, like, otherwise, it's complete garbage. And all this crap about the trolls is just completely, utterly ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why are they in the movie? They are so stupid and, like, contribute nothing to the plot. And oh my god, the worst thing about this movie, my god, the music. The music is insufferable. Literally insufferable. Like, every one of the songs is either subpar at the best, and at the worst, it is an insufferable, repetitive piece of trash that is just completely, like, it's just some of the worst songwriting of all time. Like, Love is an Open Door, and Let It Go, and the Trolls song, whatever the hell that was. Because I don't remember that. What song is so out of my memory? That's how bad that one is. Honestly, I could go on for longer, but I'm going to keep it here because we have 3 more movies to talk about. So at number 3, and by far the worst DreamWorks movie of all time, Trolls. Ooh, I say that like while in my throat. I feel like, man, this movie is just, oh, it's so bad. So, to start out, the characters are awful. Like, even worse than Frozen. This is like twice as worse than Frozen in like every way. Like, none of the characters make any sense. The girl troll character is literally so happy it's nauseating. And then Justin Timberlake's troll character is so stereotypical that it's just dumb. It's just so boring, and like, he just gets so old so fast. Every single one of the characters gets so old so fast. They either are repetitive, stale, or so incredibly stupid I want to literally pull my eyes out every time they're on screen. And the plot is so stupid. Like, they have to stop the big trolls from eating them, so it's up to girl troll to team up with boy troll to, like, learn lesson and stop everything, and yay. And then they fall in love, and woo, end of movie, yay. No. It's so bad. Literally so bad. Like, oh, God. I could literally, like, and then, like, the plot is just so utterly, like, predictable that it's, like, sickening. It's, like, so predictable that it just, like, it's like, oh, you could not think up a more predictable plot for a movie. Literally. And these are based off, like, creepy kids' toys. This should not have been made into a movie. This movie should just not exist at all. And then there's the music. God, I thought the music when Frozen was bad. This music is like 10 times as worse. Easy. Like, every single song is just complete trash. None of them fit the mood. And they're all just shoved in pop songs that everyone has heard on the radio like 1,000 times. It's dumb, it's repetitive, and it's completely ridiculous. Everyone in the song, especially Justin Timberlake singing. Ugh. yeah, point in case, this movie should not exist. This movie should never have been made. And that's why I will always avoid the sequel like the plague. So at number 2, we have Star Wars Episode 2. This is actually moved up a few spots. Where do I even start? I've talked about this movie so many times on this channel. I'm going to keep it kind of brief since I've already ranted quite a lot about this movie. It boils down to, I guess, like 5 main issues. What I'll say is that it's absolutely awful direction. Like, none of the plot beats make like much of any sense, and it doesn't even like really feel like a Star Wars movie. 2, the writing is so bad. Like, the writing is absolutely horrendous. The romance between Anakin and Padme is not deserved at all. And number 3, the acting. I think Natalie Portman's a decent actor. Not that good, but I'll say decent. And honestly, I've changed my opinion a little bit on Hayden Christensen after watching the Obi-Wan show. Like, he's like, but in this movie, he's so insufferable in terms of acting. Like, and I think this is more the fault of the terrible script, but I do think that his acting game was quite subpar in this movie when compared to something like Revenge of the Sith, or like the Obi-Wan show, where he was actually decent, or Revenge of the Sith, where he was great. And so, because of that, honestly, I think that, yeah, it's just, that's like 2 and 3 right there. Just George Lucas does not know how to direct films very well. Like, he got, like, lucky. Like, he just did a horrible job directing this movie. I'll say the fourth thing, well, the fourth thing is really the plot. Like, the plot and I guess combined with the directing is just, it's like really, really bad. Like, the idea of Obi-Wan not being able to find a planet is just so utterly ridiculous. Like, if it is not in our archives, then it must not exist. Like, that is probably one of the stupidest movie quotes, in my opinion, of all time. One of the stupidest movie quotes of all time. Ever. Because, like, how much more vain can you possibly get with that crap? And then number 5, there is way too much fucking CG in this movie. Like, Jesus Christ, the CGI is to unreasonable levels in this movie. Completely unreasonable. Like, just obnoxious. Like, every single chance there is something CGI related completely flooding the screen. And the main example I use the references is the complete atrocity that is the Droid Factory scene, which wasn't even supposed to be in the movie in the first place, by the way. George Lucas put it in because he felt it needed some more action, which it totally did not. This scene does not need to exist at all. It should have been a deleted scene in the movie. And like, there is so much crap happening on screen that my eyes genuinely hurt to watch this. Like, I think the clone stuff is kind of cool, but like, besides that, this movie is it just completely fails on like every plot beat and everything that it attempts whatsoever, period. Number one, the worst movie of all time, in my opinion, is Nightjon. So Nightjon, right off the bat, is the worst book I've ever read. And I'm not going to get into that because I already have made a dedicated video on that book. However, what is astounding to me is, number one, why the hell did this book get a movie adaptation? Like, what was the point? There are so many good books that have not been made into movies yet that it's, like, painful to me. Like, honestly, it's just, like, insane. Excuse me. And just, I don't know. This movie astounds me. Like, this movie honestly astounds me. Because not only does it take everything from the book and make it worse, it doesn't even stay true to the book. Like, in the book, the farmer is expressed as being incredibly abusive. But in this movie, he has some stupid arc about like something that happened with his son. I don't even remember. It's so dumb. And then he like helping the farmers to turn a profit, but then he gets mad all of a sudden. And then he becomes like he's in the book. Like, why wasn't he just like that in the first place? And like, Sarni's level of dialogue sounds incredibly stupid, and the character of Nightjon is just the worst movie character of all time, and oh my god, I hate this movie so much. I'm going to stop talking about it there. Like, I go more in depth in my, I have a specific rant video. It's one of my earlier videos on this channel that I've made about it. So, yeah, it's so bad. Well, that was quite a cleanser. I promise there are going to be more positive videos. Like, I'm doing like updated favorite video games and TV shows and movies and all that. So that's going to be more positive than this movie was. But holy heck. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.